So this is the second part of the end-to-end sales automation. And you can see here, it is not a hugely complex automation here. It's it has a few modules more than the previous one, but it's still quite simple as I'll just take you through it. So what do we need to do here? What the concept behind this automation is, you have your lead information now. So now you're using or you're leveraging the power of AI to kind of research a bit about the lead and then create and personalize intro message for them that you can send out to them via mail. But first, what we need is to get those lead information out. So, what are the filters to make sure you're getting the leads that you need to contact? It's simple. You have to make sure that have they been contacted before or not. So by default, all the things when they get loaded into Google Sheet, they are being marked as contacted no, or you can even leave the contacted as blank and you can change this to does not exist. That will work as well. Basically, we are trying to find out all the rows or the records which haven't been contacted yet by this module. And then the second one is this one, which creates personalized intro messages. So I'm using Perplexity AI. You can use your ChatGPT AI, whichever you have subscription to. Um, but I'm using Perplexity AI here because I've got a pro subscription for that. And while you set that up, select your module as Sonar Pro and make sure that all this map is toggled off because you're going to be writing something yourself here. And then in the messages section, you have to make sure you add two items. So you have item one, which is basically you're going to be telling the the AI agent what your role is when you're drafting the email. As you can see here, I've given a prompt here, which is basically, you're a senior B2B sales development rep who writes cold emails, etc., etc. You're given some guidelines like write like a human, not a template, be conversational, curious, and respectful, focus on the benefits, keep the email short, 3 to 4 sentences, avoid buzzwords, cliches. And you might be thinking, okay, that's a really in-depth prompt. uh, it is, but I think it's better to give it as much information as you can. And you can basically draft this prompt via ChatGPT if you want. That's what I did. I told the ChatGPT, can you help me draft a prompt for this task? Explain the context, and it will give you like a really good prompt which you can tweak a bit. So I edited the prompt a bit to kind of suit to my liking, and then it was complete. So that's the first part of the prompt, which is make sure the system knows what role it's playing. And the second part is giving it the actual message. Please find the details of the lead. So because we have already extracted that lead information via this module, we have found out, okay, one by one we kind of find all the records which have not been contacted. And then we can basically just tell Perplexity, the company name is this, the industry is this, email is this, and etc. You give it all the information it needs to basically draft the message. So one you select as user and the other one you select as system. Hopefully that's clear. And then we move on to drafting the email subject. So this one only drafts the email body. And because I don't actually want to use a lot of AI credits to draft the email as well, I just created like blanket subject that I'm using for everyone, which is basically cut your energy bills at their institution by 43.5%. So I'm using a generic subject for every one of them and personalizing the body just to save on some AI credits. If you want, you can even personalize the subject by using another Perplexity or ChatGPT module. And then we move on to the Gmail module. So this one is the module to actually send that email, so which you have drafted. So what you can do here is basically that lead information that you have gotten out of it, out of the first module, you can basically just place that information here. So where's the email? There you go. And that's your email address which is ready. I actually just added my own id here because I was testing this out and I wanted to make sure that this message didn't go to an actual lead. So that's why I had my name here, but you just have to put your email id that you're getting from that lead over in this module. And you've already created the subject by this set variable tool which we discussed. So you include that here, and you include the output from the Perplexity AI here, which in this case is, if you go to choices and if you go under messages, you'll get the content one here. So this is the message that we have. And just to show you how that message came out, I'll just show you quickly. Um, hello future hope team, I've been inspired by your recent environmental projects, how you're empowering students through hands-on learning and sport, etc. I wondered if you might be interested in exploring solar panels for your Roland Road campus as another step towards sustainable operation. So it's pretty good, it's pretty decent, it's giving some really good um, personalization to that email. And people might be like, okay, this person is not just sending a blanket cold outreach message to everyone, they're actually put some thought into it. So that's how you send your first email here. um, I just reverted back to my email id as I don't want uh, this to be sent out by mistake to actual leads yet, because there's still some fine tuning left. um, but yeah, so we move on to the set variable. This is the second set variable we are using here. So what's the benefit of doing this? Why are we trying to find out today's date? I'll tell you in a second. So you basically have to use, initially I was trying to use the now module, or the now function, which basically tells you the current date and time. But the problem is Google Sheet wasn't recognizing this as a date. It was just recognizing it as a text. So I just went through a few iterations to see what works, and this is basically it's what's working in Google Sheet. So you have to make sure you're getting this format date function, you're using this format date function, you're placing the now module here and changing the format of that now uh, function, which it gives with the date and time, into year, month, and day. uh, when you're using this, you also have to make sure that the date contacted column here has been changed. So if I see file to format, you can see it's converted to the um, date data type. So you have to make sure you do that for the entire column where your date contacted sits. All right. So now when we have got the current date, you also have to make sure you create another column here, which is days since initial contact. So as soon as you send that email out, what this module does is it updates the date contacted with the current date where the email is being sent out. And you have another column here which is basically just taking the today function here through Google, and you're minusing basically the date it has been contacted. So for example, this we had initially contacted this person in 16th of August, and then via this function here or formula here, we are basically just finding out, okay, how many days has it been since the contact. And why this is important, you'll understand during the follow-up emails. So now, we have gotten today's date, and what we have sent out that email, that initial hyper personalized email. We now just have to update the RCR system, which is Google Sheets, with the intro message. So you're just storing the intro message just in case there's some deliverability issues or something, if you ever face them. So this is basically just like a backup option. So you update your CRM with the intro message that you have sent out. You update it with the today's date set variable that you created. Excuse me. And you just save this, and you also update it as contacted as yes, because now this has been contacted. So this automation won't be picking up this record again because we have already contacted it. And then you can see we have two modules here, which is basically a sleep module. This is basically telling the automation to cool down for a few minutes. So we have this for 300 seconds. Unfortunately, the maximum is only 300 seconds. So that's why I had to add two of them to make sure we have a good amount of cool down period before we are kicking off the second part of this automation. Why we are cooling it off? It's because I think there was something I've read where you shouldn't be sending out too many emails, especially if it's a new email and one after the other. So that's why I'm giving like gaps between the emails I'm sending out initially, and once your email has gained certain reputation that okay, it's not a spam email, it's actually giving personalized messages to everyone, then you can maybe remove the sleep module. Okay, so now the second part of the automation. This is basically the follow up part of it. So what do I mean by the follow up? I have seen somewhere that you have to basically have at least 3 to 5 touch points before a lead warms up or is interested in what you're selling. So I've limited myself to 3 follow-ups. You can go with more, but I've been told total 3 to 5 touch points is pretty good. So 3 follow-ups plus the war intro message, that's like 4 touch points. I think that's a good middle ground that I'm getting into. So before we kick off this automation or like send out the follow-up emails, you have to first draft the follow-up emails. So that's what this module is basically doing. I have created like 6 items, basically 6 items with a pair of follow-up email subject and follow-up email body. So that's what I've done for the 3 follow-ups. So you can see, hey, quick question about your company, and then you have the follow-up email body, which was a generic one. Hey, I just wanted to follow up on my previous email and etc. Hey, I know things can get busy. I want to share that the companies have seen this much of reduction. And then you're like, hey, I want to reach out one last time. And this is like your final email. You're telling them that it's a one last time. And, I understand things are busy. I won't follow up again. But if you're still interested, even the slightest, we can have like a quick 15-minute catch up. And that's your module complete. So now you have all the content you need to kick off your follow-up emails. So how would actually the logic work for this one? That is a good one. So I think before I touch upon that, I'll just show you what we did to extract the leads which are relevant for follow-up. So there are a few things we have to keep in mind to make sure that the leads that we are contacting for follow-up are actually the ones which are needed for a contact. So the first one is you have to make sure it has it has been the replied column here is blank. So we haven't marked this lead as we have, if they have, basically what I'm saying is if a lead has replied back to you, that means now we don't have to follow up with that person. We can now just handle over that case to a real human being. And that makes sense. That's the point of it. As soon as someone is interested, as soon as they reply, um, we just take them out of the automation change and just hand it over to a human. The second is we have to make sure it hasn't been follow up as well, or it hasn't been um, follow up all the 3 times. So you'll understand why I have only included follow up 3 as does not exist, because in this automation we'll be sequentially updating Google Sheet with follow up 1, yes, follow up 2, yes, follow up 3, yes. So if follow up 3 is also like yes, that means we have exhausted all our follow ups with that specifically, so we don't have to follow up with that person again. So that's why I'm only included follow up 3 as does not exist. And reply, it hasn't replied. And obviously if it if the thing the one other thing which we also should probably provide is it has to be contacted as well. So that's something which I should have done. It actually doesn't matter, to be fair, but this just makes it a bit more optimized for our use case. So it has to be contacted. Shouldn't have replied to us, and it hasn't been followed up for 3 times. That's basically our criteria here. So now we have all our leads which are eligible. Then we have our follow up emails and subjects. And now we are just passing them through a router. So we are passing them through three steps in the router. The first one is to check if it is eligible for follow up one. So what we mean by this is make sure follow up one does not exist. Hopefully that is clear. So we have to make sure that follow up one does not exist. So if follow up one exists, that means we don't have to send that same follow up email one. It can go to the next step. If it doesn't exist, then we just have to send it out to whatever email address we have gotten from here. So for example, it would be this one, and just save it and make sure you've got the follow up one subject, the follow up one email body, and then you just update the Google sheet again with it has now been contacted for this date. I think we can now use today's date here with the correct format, and we just update Google Sheet to say it has been followed once. If it hasn't been followed once, it will go to the second step, which is basically it has to see that follow up 2 also does not exist. If follow up 1 exists, we have to see follow up 2 does not exist. And there is one other condition that I should have mentioned here. Can you guess what it could be? Basically, what we also need to add is it also has to satisfy that the number of days that it has been since the contact is not only 4 days. As you can see here, we mentioned here the number of days since initial contacts has been four days, or it has been more than that, because you don't just want to send them an outreach message and then send them the follow-up email the same day or the next day. We have to give them a bit of a time before we send the follow-up period. So the method that I'm using is we wait 4 days for the follow-up email one. We wait total of 9 days since the first email for follow-up email 2, and then we wait a total of 14 days for the follow-up email 3. Hopefully that makes sense. So initially we get all the contacts which haven't it has been more than 4 days since initial contact, and then for follow-up 2 we basically add another rule, which is not only it hasn't been contacted for 4 days, but it also hasn't been contacted for more than 9 days. So that's what we have to do here. We have to basically say that the date since initial contact is actually greater than or equal to 9 days. Only when that has happened, we'll be sending follow up 2. Because let's say it goes to the first step and it sees, oh, we have followed with that person. Then it goes to the second step, it sees, oh, we haven't followed up with that. Let's send it out. But it has only been like 6 days since we initially contacted. But we don't want that. We don't want such, uh, you know, day after day sending follow ups. We have to, space it out. That's why we are giving that additional conditions of it has to be a total of 9 days or more. Similarly, with follow up 3, we'll also add a rule of the days since initial contact should be greater than 14 days or equal to 14 days. And once all these follow up 2 email or follow up 3 email has been sent out, we again update the Google sheet with, hey, it has been follow up now, so let's update our follow up with today's date. So it has been contacted today, and that's our B2B sales cold outreach automation. And that is basically 99% of the job done. Your end-to-end sales automation is done. So you're getting the lead generation, you're getting your hyper personalized intro messages drafted, you're sending them out, and you're also making sure that you're providing them spaced out follow up messages. But there is one more thing that we have to do here is, how do you actually make sure it has replied to you or not? Like, this automation won't know if they have replied to you or not. It will check the Google Sheet to see if it has replied, but who's populating the Google Sheet to see if they has replied or not? We could do it manually, or because we are doing an automation here, we'll also have an automation to check the replies, which is basically we have a Google module to watch the emails or your inbox. And as you can see, I have a separate folder for all the outreach emails that I'm getting. So whenever any email is sent to me, I'm getting any incoming email with the folder, in the folder outreach emails, it will make sure to extract those emails. And just to make give you like an additional tip on how to make sure all the solar related stuff actually lands in your label, a folder of outreach emails. You basically have to create a filter. So as you can see, if you go to the settings part of your email here, go to the filters and blocked addresses part, and just create a new filter with, like, make sure it has the word solar, and you can make sure whatever words you're trying to filter your incoming emails for, and then create the filter. Then make sure that you can do some other stuff here, which is apply the label this. So as soon as there is some relevant stuff for solar, it will apply the label of outreach for solar leads. And that's how I get all the people who are replying to my emails, because my emails has the solar word. As soon as they reply to it, yeah, I'm interested or I'm not interested, whatever, it will get um, recorded within that folder, and that automation will hence pick that up, that hey, there's new emails in this folder, let's extract them out. And once it extracts all the emails out which are relevant to you for your solar, it what it does, it checks. We also have to make sure that it actually is one of the people who we had sent it out to. So we also have to get all the leads information out where they have not replied to us and they have been contacted. Once we get those leads out, we have to make sure we put a filter in place to kind of connect, okay, these are the new emails that you got. Does the sender's email match with the email that you have in your CRM systems? So it matches all the lead information and make sure only those leads which are in your CRM system and have replied to you get through in the third step, which is updating the row. So now that you know, okay, email 1 2 3 4 5 have replied, out of them 1 2 3 are in your CRM system. Those CRM systems go through, those three leads go through, and we just update their replied um column as yes. That's it. So now we know whenever someone replies to your email ID or they're just reaching out to you, as soon as this automation picks it up, it checks if it's in the CRM system. If it is, we mark it as yes, replied yes. So that there you go. That's about it. This is basically how I'm planning to do my B2B solar cold outreach, and this is what I'm going to be suggesting to my client. Obviously, there's some other. This is an MVP version, so we'll just gonna test it out and see if it works how we suppose it, and we are gonna be building up on top of it. There are a few other things in uh, end-to-end sales automations which are also important, like lead enrichment, to make sure, okay, the leads that you've got through phantom bust or any other method, do they have all the information that you need to contact them or anything else? Because sometimes you might get the lead information, name, address, but you don't have the phone number or email ID, so you have to enrich the information. But that's like something which I am planning to do for my client, but not in these initial MVP stages. The other thing which I'll probably do pretty soon is lead qualification. So, you have got hundreds of leads. Which one of them should be prioritized for your client? Because not all of them are important enough or like relevant enough for you to chase as soon as they reply. So what we are going to do in the future is give this automation some rules and logic so that it can basically score each of the leads, and only the high scoring ones will be categorized as very hot leads, and the clients can prioritize them accordingly. So yeah, that was it. This is been a very long video, but hopefully it has been informative enough. Let me know if there's any question. I'll try to answer them. But yeah, see you all next time. And I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be doing next time. I'll probably be making an updated version of this one if I'm adding lead qualification, etc. to this. But if it's not something which I'm doing right now, I'm checking out something called Go High Level as well as one of the tools that I could use with make.com or even on its own. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.